board member to our board. So we have 6 appointed members, and then each of the jurisdictions also elect a representative. And we also have representatives from Virginia State University, right next door within our region, National Park Service, and also business and industry. We also are so pleased to have board representatives who have deep expertise and experience in our mission work. You see there, our current chair, Sam Hayes, is a transportation engineer. He's actually a retired VDOT engineer and the person who led the completion of the Virginia Cap Trail when he was at VDOT. So great trails experience. And also he currently serves on the Dinwiddie County Planning Commission. You see next our vice chair, Christian Volk, is a water scientist, PhD water scientist, who works in industry with the American Water Company. So again, continuing that variety of experience and representation, and the rest of the board is of similar expertise and representation. With that, I move on to our continued partnerships and collaboration with a broad sector of business, industry, foundations. It is how Fuller has been able to conduct its work and be successful. You see here a representation of the many groups that are working with us of all sizes and forms. So we really have been able to work within these partnerships through collaboration and building and growing our regional planning, expanding and growing our funding, and actually creating sustainable infrastructure and programs. So we have been very fortunate in our work, our collaborative work. And then now I'm on to projects, the many projects and programs that we have been able to develop through our partnerships. PlanRVA has certainly provided additional capacity and support to Fuller to allow us to undertake these projects and programs that benefit the region. Heather, of course, is the best to talk through some of these and highlight some of the work we've accomplished. So I'm going to hand it over to Heather now to talk about those. Thanks, Heather.
Great, thanks, Wendy, and thanks, Martha, for having us today. I think we'll move to the next slide and take a look at this slide. It looks pretty busy, and this is all the work that Fuller is doing in the region. But I really want to focus you in on the middle of this slide, and that's conservation of the Greenway and Blueway. In the middle of this slide is the basis of our work, right? We couldn't do anything else, any of these other programs, if we don't have that Blueway Greenway conserved. So that really is the focus of our mission. And from that, we have environmental education and stewardship programming, recreation and tourism for the region, and then, of course, working with our local partners and other nonprofits to work on advocacy, planning, and, of course, policies and ordinances to make this river conservation a reality in our region. In the next slide, I'm going to talk to you about, really, again, as a planner, we all know that regional planning and the planning documents are really what guide our work. So I wanted to share with you quickly the planning documents that we do have in place. And as Wendy mentioned, the 2017 master plan is really what started our major planning work. And that shows where on the ground the Appomattox River Trail will go and what it will look like through all 6 localities. So this is really a plan that links all those 6 localities together. It also, we at the same time did a signage master plan, really exciting to work with the community to develop this logo and a sign package, again, that each locality can use to have this consistency as you walk on the trail through the region. You'll have that same look and feel no matter where you are. Then last year, we partnered with VCU with a master student in the MERP program to work on a blueway plan. So start to look at the paddling user, how to make the river more safe and more accessible to those who want to be on the water. And then right now we're working on a land conservation plan, and that's with a grant with the Virginia Environmental Endowment. We are doing the first inventory of the riverfront land, seeing, who owns what, how much is protected, what's the buffer condition like, and start to make some priorities as we and the localities and as our partners move forward with land conservation. What do we need to conserve? What do we need to maybe enhance? And how can we work with all the landowners, from the residential landowner all the way to industrial? What do we need to do to work with them to make sure our river is protected? So these are all of our planning documents that guide our work. In the next slide, I'm going to show you a map of the region and of our trail work. So on the west, you'll see Lake Chesden on the left, on the west, and that is our beginning of our service area. The river flows through Chesterfield County on the north, Dinwiddie on the south. The middle of the slide is Petersburg on the south, Colonial Heights on the north, and Virginia State University. That little orange line is the Fall Line Trail. So you'll see where that 42-mile planned trail will intersect right in the middle of our 25-mile planned trail, which is really exciting for our region to connect back to the northern Richmond region. The river continues on, flows through Prince George County, ends up in Hopewell, and meets back up with the James River. And we have projects in every locality. FOLAR helps coordinate and sometimes takes the lead on projects. Right now, we have an active construction project in Petersburg, creating a new overlook and accessible trail. We sit on committees to help localities bid projects. We help with the planning process. We assist with all the comp plan updates. So we're really engaged from every level of planning all the way to construction of this trail system. So the next slide, I'm going to show you really our most exciting and our newest and biggest project to date. And that is working on the western entrance to the Appomattox River Trail in Dinwiddie and Chesterfield counties. We are so excited that we have this new project where we're going to be designing and constructing our westernmost pedestrian and bicycle bridge. We have several of these bridges along the 25 miles, and this will be the most western bridge, connecting existing Radcliffe Park on the north bank in Chesterfield, connecting that to the south bank in Dinwiddie and Ferndale Park, connecting two existing parks together with a new bicycle pedestrian bridge. We're going to master plan and upgrade an existing park called Ferndale Park. And what's really great is this park has been in existence since the early 1900s. Like, really amazing to think of people recreating in this location for that many years and being able to make some upgrades for our community. And then finally, improving some existing trail. We want to make sure our trails are accessible for everyone and that they're also built in a very sustainable manner. So we're really excited. We have some great funding committed already. We know it's going to take more than this, but we are so thankful for the Cameron Foundation for $1 million grant. And also, we have a $500,000 challenge grant from the Cabell Foundation. We are right in the middle of fundraising, and I'm going to ask each of you to go ahead and join us, become a member of FOLAR, and join us on that challenge grant. The next slide is, let's see, data. So we know data is important, right? So we have the planning piece. We know this is all important work, but we need that data to support what we're doing. So a few years ago, we partnered with another great partner, the Crater Health District, and they were able to purchase traffic's infrared counters. So we worked with Chesterfield County, bought the same counting system that they already use to make sure we have regional consistent data. And we've installed 6 new counters in the region to start collecting data on our trails. You can see we have over 210,000 uses in 2020. We have a great pair of volunteers who go out every month, collect this data, make sure they're working, and we'll continue to install new counters as new trail sections open. And this really gives us great data to show us, which parks and trails have the most use, which have the least use, and helps guide as we start developing new trails to see what folks want and what folks are using. We also have volunteers that collect data on the trail to help us collect more of those stories. So this just gives us raw numbers, but we also have volunteers that actually collect data and collect stories for us to help us understand a little more about the user who's out on the trail system. Another great partnership project that we have is with the Creator Planning District Commission and the Coastal Zone Management grant. And so we've been doing this for many years, producing this paper map and brochure of the Appomattox River. It points out all the trail sections, and it points out all of the boat launches and paddling access sites. And I think this is just a really great product that shows what taking a regional look at an asset really can mean for the public. We know to paddle this river, you would put your boat in at Chesterfield County, you would paddle through Dinwiddie, you would end up in Petersburg. And to do that research on each individual parks and rec site is a little difficult for someone, right? So it's really great to take this regional look and really look at the river as one cohesive natural resource instead of thinking about all those jurisdictional boundaries. And that's what we're able to do at FOLAR and with our regional planning district commissions, really look at this in a regional scale and not just as each individual locality. Like I said, this is a paper map. It's also online on our website, and we will be coming out with the interactive online version soon with a new website. So we would love to have you come down to the Appomattox River and visit us. With that, I'm going to turn it back to Wendy to wrap us up.
Great. Thanks, Heather. So all that Heather has discussed, all the programs and projects illustrate the really the measurable impact that FOLAR brings to our communities as we work to protect the Appomattox River. By the way, a Virginia Scenic River, designated Virginia Scenic River, so beautiful, and it provides drinking water for our 6 jurisdictions, so really an important mission. And as we work to help our jurisdictions complete the Appomattox River Trail, as Heather mentioned, and by the way, an award-winning trail, world-class trail, you see here on this slide. And generally work with our partners to help improve the quality of life for the residents in our region. As you know, the stronger any region is, but in particular our region, the more we can contribute to the regions in the Richmond region and then even beyond the Commonwealth. So we know that our partnerships and collaboration provide us the capacity to bring these improvements. And but it is not without its challenges. So the next slide does bring us to reality in terms of the challenges that we face as a smaller jurisdiction and a smaller organization trying to work regionally. Of course, in our region, we have significant health, educational, and financial challenges. Our region is a mixture of smaller communities. So we have smaller tax base and land acreage, and that can affect and limit state and federal funding. We have fewer foundations and private funders. Again, industry and private donors, that sort of thing, much smaller base. We have significant impairment along the river. It's one of, with an industrial history, long industrial history. So that has created significant challenges. And also we have limited resources such as land trusts to work with. But again, again, lack of equitable green space. We have relatively small green space. But again, the partnerships help bolster our ability to address these challenges and develop strategies and solutions that are helping to strengthen. So with that, I think that the next slide is our last, and that is a photo of our signage that's part of our master planning plan. We have a signage plan. That is also a photo of Patton Park there in Petersburg, where the new Fall Line Trail is planned to intersect. So we are working on those regional connections on our trails as well. So again, we are fortunate to work with PlanRVA and Crater and our funders and jurisdictions to bring these changes and improvements to our community. And we do appreciate all of the support. And as Heather said, I'll remind you too, we are a private 501c3 nonprofit. So please join us and contribute and support and help all of this continue for our communities. So with that, I'll pass it back to Martha and open it up for conversation and
well, thank you
questions.
guys. Thank you so much. That was great. And I think one of the big takeaways I have from your presentation is that our riverways are really connectors, not boundaries. So I think that it's really exciting the way that FOLAR is taking the opportunity to bring public access to our river and waterways, and what that could mean for our communities. So could you talk a little bit more about maybe how trails represent that opportunity for people and localities? You mentioned a low tax base, smaller communities. What kinds of benefits economically can trails and access to the waterways bring to a locality?
Sure, I'll start, and I know Heather probably will want to add too, but yeah, we definitely know through our research and other communities that trails are real attractors to business. We know they attract tourism and help local businesses increase their sales, but we're really finding more and more that core industries are looking for the amenities like trails and green spaces and waterways. That's where they want to locate, and that's where individuals and families want to live, to have those amenities. So that drives up home values. We know that from the CAP Trail, Virginia CAP Trail. Home values are increased, and so we see it benefiting tourism, the economy. We know it improves. We know that it improves our residents' health. That reduces the cost, public health costs. So, in so many ways, trails and especially connected trails benefit our communities. Heather, what did I miss?
Yeah, well, I have a great story I like to share about the public health benefits. So, I'm really passionate when we're building this system that I want this to be accessible to everyone, right? I really think that's just really important to what we're building, that we have a population that does have high poverty, high health risk, a lot of preventable disease. So we just know that these accessible, free places are important for health. But I was on the River Walk in Hopewell, one of our newest accessible spaces, and I met a couple, and she shared with me that she was in a car accident recently, and her doctor told her she needed to walk as her healthcare plan, and she did not have a safe place to walk where she lived, and so she went to the River Walk. The River Walk has built-in benches. She said she first started going to the River Walk and she could only make it a little way and had to sit on a bench and kept on going. And now she and her husband come to River Walk twice a day. She can walk the whole length unassisted now, but still likes to stop for the view. But it was just a great story of a citizen, using this resource to recover from an accident, that she felt safe, she felt accessible and stable, and she didn't have that anywhere else in her community. So I think thinking of these trails and these spaces as a place for physical health and mental health is just so important. And I think we all saw that during COVID. I know I got outside more, and I think, we all saw our trail numbers increase too during that time.
Absolutely. I noticed on that 2020 chart of just every single one of the facilities that you were tracking saw a really market interest, especially when the weather, provides for that. But even just year out, there are people out there every day, which is just so exciting. Well, Heather, you teed that up nicely. My next question was really about, outdoor recreation and the value that it brings. I think this last year has taught all of us how important it is to connect with our natural environment and how important it is for our communities to have access to natural resource amenities. Tell us a little bit about how you work with the local governments. You named several of them along the Riverway, and I think you've got partnerships with each one of them. How do the local governments in the Crater region participate in this effort?
Yeah, that's a great question. I'll start it off. So they've been at the table from the very beginning. So when FOLAR was formed, over 20 years ago, our board was formed with a representative from the local governments being on the board. So that was very important to the formation of our organization, that every jurisdiction would be at the table. And that's really built from there. When I came on board as a staff member, one of my first tasks was to go to each board or city council and get a resolution of support for that master plan. And make sure that each locality was incorporating that master plan into their comprehensive plan. And most of them had already been talking about the river in their plans, and it's kind of already been there, but really making sure that the whole region and each local government was a part of that planning process was very important to us. So in that first year, we went to all 6 jurisdictions, passed a resolution in the same year, as well as some other major partners like Virginia State University, the National Park System, Fort Lee, Gateway Business, all passed resolutions of support around this master planning process. And now as each locality updates a comprehensive plan, I sit on their comprehensive plan update team, and I'm part of trying to make sure we're incorporating the riverfront trail, as well as making connections to the trail, right? So the trail is a linear, kind of east-west along the river, but we also looked at a little bit in our master plan, and we're going to continue those spurs from the community back to the riverfronts. So we're working with each comprehensive plan on all their bicycle and pedestrian improvements.
Right. And I'll just add that, again, as Heather mentioned, and I did too, our board composition includes representation from each of those jurisdictions. So we're able to communicate both ways. They can help connect us to other aspects of the jurisdictions and make sure that our communications are being delivered to that jurisdiction leadership and staff. So it's really two-way, and that works very well too.
Thank you. Yeah, and so that begs the question now, what kind of relationships do you have with our state agency partners? It sounds like actually quite a few there as well from the information on the slides.
Yes, certainly, and probably Heather, you talk more. Certainly, in the programs in land conservation, and environmental, and health, all of those from the state level, we participate with and provide communication back and forth and support. What would Heather?
Yeah, absolutely. VDOT transportation, yeah, same thing.
Right, DCR.
We definitely have, like Wendy said, communication with all of them. That land conservation plan I mentioned a little bit ago, part of that is working with DCR to upgrade statewide data. A lot of you on the call know about the data that they provide that not only helps modeling with how to conserve land, but also ties into grant funding. In the Tri-Cities, we don't always have a lot of capacity and resources to feed that data up to the state. So FOLAR's taking that lead to make sure all of our data in the region is accurate and up to date, and giving that back to the state and making sure we're all on the same, getting the same information. So yeah, again, taking that regional view has been really important, and making sure all the localities in the region are getting the equal representation back to the state agencies.
Yes, and I'll keep it real and say we are very challenged in our smaller jurisdictions to get a little bit of notice above those larger regions in the Commonwealth. Richmond, Northern Virginia, beaches. We have to really work hard to help the state understand the benefits and the impact of a region like the Crater Planning District region, and a river like the Appomattox River, which is so unique because it does flow from the Piedmont down to tidal, right through just amazing greens and habitat. So it is an amazing river.
So, I mean, I think, Wendy, I appreciate the fact that you've been just so honest about some of the challenges because, a lot of times we talk about these partnerships and just how wonderful they are, but it's a lot of work to maintain and hold those partnerships. And I think that, just if I may say so, FOLAR is just such a wonderful representation of what it means to be in partnership with organizations and to really, I noticed just on the slides and the credits that you give to those that come to the table with you in the work that you're leading, but also just the range of partners on that one slide of public to private, community-based, big companies. And it's just really impressive. And I think speaks volumes. Also reminding from the earlier slide that you are a very small staff team and a very committed board, but really know how to leverage, those relationships that you have in the community. So
yeah, thanks, Martha.
Well, yeah, absolutely.
We are just 2.5 people, full-time staff. And I just want to throw out that we are building on 20 years of the shoulders of committed residents, and we have been very fortunate. And again, the regional planning is so important. So thank you. It really does boil down to working with great partners, collaborating with great partners.
Yeah, and something I didn't say that I say in a lot of presentations is that our founding members were truly born and raised in the region, right? So we were founded from the community. We weren't just a nonprofit that got started. We really did have roots with churches and Rotary clubs, and one of our board members ran for office after he became involved. So really came from the community. I think that has made a big difference too, that everyone brought their whole selves to the organization and brought their family and friends with them when they made FOLAR.
Yeah, and continue to do so.
Well, I can only imagine that the viewers are wondering, well, I want to be a part of this. How do I get involved? And I know the last year or so has been a little bit difficult. You talked a little bit about volunteer opportunities and that kind of thing. How does someone get involved? Do you have special events that you've got planned coming up? Other types of volunteer opportunities to come and maybe do a cleanup or anything like that on the calendar?
Yeah, yes, thanks for that question, Martha. Of course, all are welcome to be part of FOLAR's mission, and all are so welcome to come and enjoy the river and trail. You certainly join on I realize I didn't put our website on our slides, but it's folar-va.org, folar-va.org. You can go there and sign up to join as a member. We love members to show that we have certain numbers of memberships help us show our impact and to funders and that sort of thing. But we also love the help with volunteering. One of our partners, James River Advisory Council, is sponsoring a cleanup this September. We'll have a few sites as part of that. So that's you can learn about that on our website as well as the JRAC website. We do have a couple of annual events, one coming up, our famous paddler battle. You can paddle 10 miles down the Appomattox River. And that also is September. And again, you can find out more about that on our website. So yes, we are actively, in fact, in the middle of a membership drive right now. We'd love to have everyone join us and help. There's challenges. There's a lot. We've accomplished so much. There's still so much more to do. So we appreciate the opportunity to welcome people to our mission. and come and enjoy.
So to that point, what would you say to somebody that says, I mean, gosh, I've never even, I don't know where the access points are. I mean, Heather, you talked about the map and other resources. How easy is it for somebody who maybe isn't as familiar with getting on the river or that kind of thing to just even get started here?
Yeah, I would say to, go to the FOLAR website, and we have all the different access points for each jurisdiction listed. You could also go to, if you live in a certain jurisdiction, you can go to their Parks and Recreation website as well. They're listed in both places. Some trails are more accessible than others. So depending on, kind of what you're looking for, we have paved trails and the Riverwalk. We also have some more rustic trails in Dinwiddie County. But yeah, there's lots of different access points. Also great places to have lunch or grab a beer at a brewery afterwards in the region. So lots of great things to check out. Some even overlooking the river. So there's some great websites. Hopewell and Petersburg and Colonial Heights all have some great local places to eat and shop while you're visiting too. But yeah, our website is the best place to go to that brochure map I showed. And that kind of gives you an overview of all the trails and all the paddling sites in place. We also didn't mention we have a couple public and private marinas on the river too. So there's also boating for motor boating as well as paddling. So.
Mm-hmm. And we have about 8 access points for put-in points for paddling along the river, also noted on that map. And I'll say that you receive a map when you join FOLAR in the mail. So another benefit of joining FOLAR. And I want to also mention that we recently were able, our third staff person is Kiffy Werkheiser, Director of Development, who is helping to really improve our communication out and all of our membership resources. So we are really growing in that regard, and able to provide those membership benefits.
Excellent. Well, I want to make sure that anybody that is viewing the webinar has a chance to submit a question. So just as a reminder, if you want to submit a question in the chat or the Q&A, feel free to do so. You can also raise your hand and we can have you lend your voice to the discussion. I could probably spend all day talking to Wendy and Heather, so I've got loads of questions here, but want to make sure that other people have the chance to ask as well. I wanted to switch gears a little bit. We've talked a lot about kind of recreation and the economic impacts, but you do have as part of your mission, kind of this policy minded focus. And also, Wendy, you mentioned the impairment. So can you tell us a little bit more about the importance of water quality and how FOLAR really leads some work in that efforts to improve the water quality in the region?
Yeah, so that's a great question, Martha. We have VSU right here on the riverfront, Virginia State University. Lucky to have them as a partner, not only riverfront access on the river, but also a great partner for our trails, both the Fall Line and the our Appomattox River Trail, and then also the support from the students and the staff and professors. So we have some professors on campus who are doing some water quality work. So we keep in touch with them to make sure we know what they're doing with the students on the river. We've had some partnership in the past with Chesterfield County, has a volunteer water monitoring program that we've partnered with. And then other partners like James River Association and Chesapeake Bay Foundation all work in this region as well. So, when we do tree plantings and like the land conservation work that I mentioned, all will support the water quality work. We also have James River Association has partnered in the region to start improving some stormwater. So, making those connections too between stormwater and infrastructure in our jurisdictions. Of course, all that flows to the river. So, we're getting more involved with the stormwater programs. We have a formal partnership with the Petersburg MS4 that we formally partner, and our education does flow back to their MS4 requirements. So we are making those stronger connections between those jurisdictional needs and our riverfront. So Definitely just another arm of the work we do. And, we really do see that the land conservation and the trail really is the vehicle for everything else, right? Unless people can get on the river and fall in love with the river, that's what's going to make them care about stormwater and everything else in their community. So we really do feel like the access and getting to the river is what it's going to take to get folks to care about everything else in the region.
Right. And as we plan and develop that Appomattox River Trail, it is all with an underpinning of being as environmentally protective as we can, doing the stormwater work necessary before we lay the trail. In our most recent project at the University Boulevard Trail and Trailhead, we were able to reduce the number of stormwater credits we needed to purchase by planting plants, planting greenery. So what a concept. We were able to reduce spending on stormwater credits and yet still protect our waterways. And again, that is how FOLAR right now, we don't have any really on the water programs. We are working to protect our river through improving the shoreline and the land, conserving the land along the river. That's our focus right now as we try to work on that Appomattox River Trail.
And remind us, 25 miles of a bike and pedestrian trail is a significant undertaking across multiple jurisdictions. You have segments that are in various process, but what's the timeline for that whole 25-mile length to come to completion? So if somebody could come from point A to point B and feel like they've done the whole thing.
Yeah, well, we hope maybe 10 years. It's just quite unpredictable, but we are moving along so well. We have the eastern end, of course, the Hopewell River Walk, and the phase 2 is coming in this year probably. We're working, we've got the plans done for the Petersburg throughway. Colonial Heights has their trail pretty much paved, and the last little bit, Heather knows all of this in detail. And then as Heather announced, we're working on that western section. So it is complicated and complex and layered, and takes many partners. And so I think, 10 years is realistic to have it all, but you can get a very nice walk in at each section right now. Hopewell, Colonial Heights, and Petersburg, so walkable. And also we have right now rustic trails that you can pass through. And we have that historic mile trail in Dinwiddie. So you can definitely get a couple miles in across the regions and really take in the potential of the trail right now.
From the Planning Commission perspective, 10 years for a 25-mile trail is like light speed. So
yeah, it is. We have benefited from, again, bringing together governments and public agencies, private agencies. So everyone, I think it is a priority mission. It's just making sure that it all comes together at the same time. Yeah. So 10 years is light speed, but we're hoping, we're working toward that.
Well, and you mentioned this, a couple of months ago, we did have a session about the Fall Line Trail. And I think it's just really exciting to see how much energy and opportunity there is right now for these multi-jurisdictional efforts underway, but also to see how much investment is happening at the local level to be able to get, create these opportunities for people to just kind of get out, be able to access these trails. And it's become, I think, an amenity that many community members expect, to be
absolutely. We really haven't touched much on the active transportation aspect of the trail, but we are planning and designing and building the Appomattox River Trail as Heather said, paved, bicycle pedestrian transportation system that's going to connect to the Vol Line Trail and then ultimately to Virginia Capitol Trail, to hundreds of miles of trails. And we hope, as we work with our state agencies, a statewide trail, bicycle pedestrian trail. So definitely becoming a transportation infrastructure necessity.
Yeah, and for us, those several bicycle pedestrian bridges that we mentioned is really key to that transportation aspect that folks will be able to live on one side of the river and work on the other side, and use a bicycle or walk in between, because we really do have some great activity centers in the region and the university. So we have some big employers that are really located really trail side that can be connected, especially if we improve that accessibility across the river with some dedicated bicycle pedestrian bridges. So that's really, I think, a great opportunity for transportation in the region. We do have some of the lowest car ownership in the state statistics. So this is a region that definitely, could use this as transportation and integrating that with our transit system that we have in place in the region.
Awesome. It's just always so interesting, I think, to hear how an organization can have so many, just really like deep and broad impacts in the community. So if you haven't noticed, I'm very proud of the partnership that we have with our friends at FOLAR. It's truly been a great opportunity for us at PlanRVA to be able to leverage this partnership. Deepening our partnership with Crater Planning District Commission, really being able to understand how the planning work that we do can connect and really tie into on the ground implementation with many of our partners. And so, I want to say thank you to Wendy and to Heather for the time today, but also the time that you give to our organization. Both serve on a number of different committees out in the community and lend their expertise. Heather serves on a number of region-wide different committees and helps to really help us think about the intersection of many of the things that we talked about today. Active transportation, as Wendy mentioned, but also the connection between water quality and resiliency and how we really try to create these amenities, not just to be able to support our recreation needs, but really kind of the whole life that we have happening in our communities. So we thank you for that partnership. We're really grateful for it. And it's been exciting to be able to share a little bit about how that looks on the ground in our community. Again, many of you probably know, but Chesterfield County and Charles City County are dual members of both PlanRVA and the Crater Planning District Commission. And so we wanted to take the next 3 Better Together sessions to really be able to examine different ways that our communities work together, not just across jurisdictional boundaries, but across regional boundaries. And so this was the first of that set of sessions, and we'll be looking into another dimension of our partnership with Crater Planning District Commission next month when we talk about the hazard mitigation plan. This is our second round of completing a multi-region, multi-hazard mitigation plan, and that's in partnership with the Department of Emergency Management, the U.S. Federal Emergency Management Administration, as well as our 26 member jurisdictions who participate in the Emergency Management Alliance of Central Virginia. So this is an exciting partnership where we really bring community members, community leaders, emergency management professionals, planners, you name it, they're at the table when it comes to hazard mitigation planning. And we'll be talking about that next month. And then the month after, we'll be talking about our very exciting program, the Don't Trash. So it comes back to FOLAR at the end of this 3-part series, because FOLAR is one of our signed on partners to the Don't Trash Central Virginia campaign. So we're really excited, and we'll tell you more about that story of how that coalition was formed, probably a little bit more than a year and a half ago, and what we've been able to do to raise awareness across the community about the perils of litter, whether it be on the ground or in our waterways, and how we as citizens can take responsibility for that and help to mitigate those impacts. So I just wanted to say thank you to everybody today, especially Wendy and Heather, for their time. And we will see you next month on the next installment of the Better Together webinar series.